I am ready if you are. All right. Yeah, sorry about that. Good evening once again. Like I said earlier on, tonight we'll be looking at creating a report. Okay, so when we talk about creating a report, what exactly are we looking at? Also, we'll be looking at what it means to create a report. We'll look at what are the contents of your reports. What are those things that needs to be in your report? Who is the audience, or who are the audience of your reports? And then we will look at some samples so that we can see some of the things we've discussed in the content. We'll be able to see it in the samples that we're going to um that will show you. So those are the areas that we're going to cover in relation to this topic tonight. Okay, so what is a sprint report, or what is a report in general? So for a sprint report, it might be a Scrum Master, but we know that in this training, we don't have just Scrum Masters alone. We have the APMs, the Agile Project Manager and Agile Delivery Manager interns also in this training. So we'll be looking at, I'll be using the word generally as a report. And then if I need to specifically talk about the Scrum Master's report, I would be making mention of sprint report. And then if I need to talk about the APM or ADM report, I'll be talking about a report for a phase or a status, a project status report. Okay. So in summary, a report is a document, it's a summary document of what happened during the sprint. That's for Scrum Masters, or during the phase of a particular project. When we say a phase of a particular project, it could be that a project is in the first phase, which might be 3 months, in the duration of 3 months. It could be in the second phase and all that. So you're looking at providing a summary document for your audience for that particular phase, what had happened during that particular phase. For a Scrum Master, you're looking at providing a summary document for your audience of what happened during the sprint. What was your sprint goal? Were you able to achieve it? What did you do? What didn't you do? And all those things, and also be able to produce some other things, content, which we'll be talking about when we get to the part of the content. So like I said, it's just a brief overview of the sprint or the phase of a project, and it covers just the main aspects. You just want to give an high level report or an high level update or progress of how the project had gone during that sprint or during that phase. Sorry. So it's a report, is a document that is straight to the point, and you can divide it into, manageable small sections for simplicity and clarity, so that the people that you're providing it for, your audience, have a better clarity of what you're providing for them. Also, it is prepared with both text and chat information. That gives a better understanding. So whatever you've explained to them in text form, in text format, you're also able to show them in a chart format, in a graphical representation, whereby it gives them, better understanding of the relevant things you're talking about during either the sprint or the phase of the project. So there is no standard number of pages here that your uh, uh, report has to have, but it shouldn't, just it shouldn't be more than 2 or 3 pages, depending on the information you're including in it, and depending on the audience that you're passing that information to. You don't want to bore them when you have too many pages. When people normally see a document with too many pages, they get discouraged to go through it. And we're talking about agile. We're not talking about waterfall. Waterfall, you can have a bundle of documents, because it starting is a process that starts from the beginning all the way to the end. So the document you will provide is a big one. But in agile, we're talking about iterative method. So you shouldn't have, that cumbersome or voluminous document to give to them. So it shouldn't be more than 2 or 3 pages. Like I said, it's an high level information that you're giving them of what happened during the sprint or during the phase of the project. Okay, so we'll look at the content of a sprint report, and then we'll go look at the content of a status report. they are quite similar, but they have some, just some little differences, and that's why I've, separated them. So we'll look at the one for a content of a sprint report, which a Scrum Master will be able to provide, and then we would go into the one for, like I said, the status report, and just look at some of the, just the brief differences that you have in them. So while the specific content of a sprint report is entirely up to you, like I said, it's based on your audience. So what is the information that you're passing to your audience? So the ones we have here, they are not cast in stone. That doesn't mean for me, for any report as a Scrum Master that I have to give, it has to be, exactly what you have on the screen right now. It's not cast in stone. So it depends on the audience you're giving that information to. It depends on the projects that you're working on, what you need to do during that project. So those are all the things that determines the content, but these are just the basic ones that you might get in the sprint report. So you're looking at the project name, the specific name for your project. You're looking at that. So what is your project? So it's, remember, your project is different from your team name. Example, if your team name is Magnum, but you're working on Student Journey Prep Major, so your project will be Prep Major / Student Journey. That will be the name of the project, so that the audience that you've given it to know the particular project that they are reading the report about. Okay, so don't make that mistake of naming your project Platinum or Magnum. That is your team name. It has to be your project name, which is the name of the project that you're working on. And then you're also, another content is your sprint name. So what is the specific sprint that you're reporting about? Is it sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 10? Those are the example of your sprint name. And then you're looking at the sprint period also. You want to cover the start and the end date of the particular sprint that you're reporting about. So it could be, for example, it could be 13th of August to 26th of August. Just giving you an example. So it's just the period, that 2 weeks period of that particular sprint covers your sprint period, and you want to put that there also. And then you also want to give updates, list the items of your sprint backlog and give updates. What are the status of them? So those are all the stories that you took into that sprint to work on. So in a situation where you're able to finish everything, so when we look at the samples, you will see examples of the kind of updates you give for your sprint backlog item, but you want to give your sprint backlog item updates. Those are all the stories you took into the sprint that you worked on. You want to give an update on them. Also, you want to look at your sprint capacity. What is the capacity? Were you in full capacity when you went into the sprint? Were you in full capacity when you went in, but some of the team members had some emergencies and they had to take time off, and that definitely will affect, the work during the sprint, because that would help you to give an highlight when you come to your sprint highlight of, oh, we were not able to finish. Could it be because some of your members fell sick? There was, I don't know, kind of a bug going around, people were falling sick and all that, and because of that you couldn't finish work and all that. When you give the team's capacity, it helps you to explain some things that happened. Like I said, if you're not able to complete the sprint goal, you were able to give that information also. So you give an highlight of the sprint, what happened during the sprint. Oh, we're able to finish everything that we took into the sprint. Everything has been, deployed, or everything has been, whatever has been done to those stories and all that. If it has, if it means it has been released, depending on your software development life cycle process, you're able to give them highlights of those information. If there were any issues during the sprint, one of it is what I just said, that you were not able to complete your sprint goal because maybe members of your team fell ill, they had some emergencies, things like that and everything. You're able to give them those information. And why you do that, especially for stakeholders, is so that they know that, okay, this was the goal. This was what we said we wanted to see at the end of sprint. And by the time you're saying, oh, we're not able to achieve that and all that, before they even ask you why, your report has already told them some of the reason why you were not able to. So it might not be in the aspect of just your team members alone. It could be anything. It could be a technical issue. It could be a crash of the website. It could be anything technical, which you couldn't handle, or even if you could handle it, it might have taken some few days for you to resolve it, and as a result, you couldn't finish what was committed into sprint. So those issues and all that, you want to update them about it in your report to let them know what has been done. So it's not just saying, oh, we had this particular issue and leaving it at that. What was done to resolve it? You have it's good to have a good outcome of that issue so that they know that, oh, okay, it has been resolved, or okay, it has not been resolved, but in the next few days it's going to be resolved so that the next sprint can run smoothly. So those are some of the informations you give, updates you give in your issue that you put, if there is, in your report. And then you want to look at your metrics. You want to look at your velocity chart. You want to show them also the burn down chart so that they can see, half of the things you've said in, like I said, text format. You also want to be able to explain them. We also want to be able to show them through your graphical representation of your metrics, your sprint burn down chart, your velocity chart. You'll be able to use that to show them. Also, you want to give them review feedback update. So let's assume that during the last review, your sprint review, the stakeholders made some adjustment. They made some comments to say, okay, we want you to this color. I'm just using that as an example. This color is too dark. Can you give us a lighter one and everything and all that? Definitely your PO would have met with them after that review meeting in order to get the exact shade that they want. I'm just using that again as an example, to get the exact shade that they want, and that would have been done during the sprint, and you would have shown the PO to say, okay, this is what they want, this was what you brought back for us, we've done that. The PO would have seen that before the next review or the reports that you're doing. But you want to put all those updates inside that this was what this was the feedback we got during the last review, we've worked on that, and this is the result. If you can give them a screenshot, or you can actually also attach a link of a video showing that that update or that feedback that you've worked on, that you've adjusted. You could put a link of a video linking to that, that would link to that. You can put it also in your report for them to click on it and to see that that update has been has been carried out the way they want it, and they can give further feedback on that to say, oh, we're satisfied with the way it is now. And that particularly closes up that feedback review that you got. You can put that there, and then you're giving also an overview of the next sprint to say, oh, in the next sprint, these are the focus. These are the focus. This is the proposed sprint goal for the next sprint, and these are what we want to do. These are the deliverables that we're looking at working on during that during the next sprint you're going into. Again, the stakeholders would have told the PO and the BAs would have worked on it, provide all those stories and all that. So what they are doing by giving that overview is to show them that these are the things you want us to work on next, and that's what we're working on. Also to let the team, like I said, anybody that is the audience, just to know, oh, what is the next step. So what you've done is to tell them, this is what we did this time around, this is the update of everything we did this time around, and these are the things we're going to do in the next sprint. So you're providing those information. Like I said, it could be just these few ones I've said. It could be more than this, it could be less than this. Again, it depends on the project, and also it depends on the audience that you're providing that report for. So let's quickly just go and see the few difference we have for the status report. So the status report, like I said, reports that the APM or ADM will be providing. Okay, so it will have the project name, just like the other one has a project name. This one also will have a project name. It will have the phase name. So it don't have a sprint name. Yeah, it will have a phase name. And the phase name could be, is it the first phase? Like maybe is that the first quarter? Is that what we're doing in the first quarter? Maybe anything we're doing between January and March, that could be the first quarter. So you have the phase name there. You will have the phase period also, just like I've said. It could be what the team is working on between January and March. That phase has just finished, and you want to give a status report regarding that particular phase. So it will have the phase name, it will have the phase period. You'll also be able to give just an overview of the project objective. What is the project goal? What is that phase objective? At this particular phase, what did we want to do? What did we want to achieve? The goal for that particular phase. You're able to give an overview of the project, like I said, and also give the goal for that particular phase. So when you give the goal for the particular phase, you're also able to talk about the executive summary. So the executive summary is where you lay down the deliverables for that particular phase. So these are what we want to do during this particular phase. You're able to lay them down and all that, and then you provide updates on them. So these were what we plan to do, during this particular phase and all that and everything. And then you give an update, like a status, what has been done, what has not been done, why has it not been done, and then also you're able to, in your reports, put in the risk and issues management. What are some risks that you encountered, while you were working on that particular during that particular phase? How were those risk or issues or dependencies, depending on what they are, how are they identified? How have you what have you done after identifying them? What impact did they have on that particular phase or on the project itself? And what mitigation strategy did you put in order to resolve them? So you're able to give that report so that your audience are aware that, okay, so there was a dependency maybe on the business to provide the particular details because of bureaucracy or protocols in place in getting those information. It delayed what we needed to do, and because of that dependency, it impacted the project because we couldn't go further to do this particular feature, and as a result, that feature also other features are dependent on it, and it's going to impact the timeline, of that particular phase. If it's a phase where at the end of that phase you're supposed to release, you're able to say, oh, this is a critical, issue that needs to be dealt with, because once we don't resolve the first dependency, other ones can't be worked on. So those are all the information you want to give: your risk, your dependencies, your issue, how were they managed, how have you been able to manage it during that phase. You're able to give them that information, and then you're able also to look at the metrics. You might add the metrics to it, really, but you might not. For an APM or ADM, it's optional. You might put your velocity really in, and you might not put it in. But if you put your velocity in, maybe you're trying to explain to you might be using it to explain to your audience, to say that, oh, okay, so we might not have delivered during this sprint as expected, but we've been working so well, coming from the different sprints that the project is coming from, or from the different what is it called, spaces that the project is coming from. So apart from your velocity chart, another metrics as an APM or an ADM that you can use is your release burn down chart. You can create a release burn down chart, which you can use. It gives an overview of how work has been done over a period of time during the sprints and all that. They would know what went into the sprint, what was completed during the sprint, what was delivered, the increments during that sprint, and as it goes along. So you could use that also to be able to provide information, status information for your audience. And then you're looking at your stakeholders communication. What are those things that you've communicated to the stakeholders? You give an update of your engagement and your communication activities, with your stakeholders. What are the things, what are the important discussions that you have had, meetings, these decisions that has been made that involved them, by putting it in your report. What you're doing is, even if those information during that meeting, you've had that information, it has been agreed, it has been approved. Remember that it was just you and the stakeholders that were there, that collaborated to do that. Now your status report is not only meant, the only audience for it is not just your stakeholders. It will include other other audience also. So they would be able through that report to get that update that, oh, okay, so the stakeholders have, agreed to this particular thing, or they didn't agree to this particular thing. You're able to see there are some of the things that you might find in such the thing might be resource allocation. You need more staff. You've discussed with the appropriate stakeholder regarding that. They've given the go ahead to get more resources in and everything. The team members are able to see that, oh, we're struggling when it comes to resource. We need more developers, or we need more QAs and all that. You've taken that to the stakeholder, the appropriate stakeholder, or management. Management is a part of the stakeholder. They've agreed to it. All those information, you're able to pass it on in your report as part of communications you've had with your stakeholders. And then you're giving also an overview of the next phase. What are the things, what are the list of upcoming tasks or deliverables or milestones for the next phase that we're going into with the action item, and attached to it. These are the deliverables. This is the milestone. This is the next time we're going to the next phase we're going into is April to June, and these are the deliverables. This is what we're looking at. This is the objective or the goal of that particular phase. This is what we want to achieve and everything. If you have anything that you've not finished from a particular phase that you've just completed, and part of it needs to go into the next phase, you're also able to add that to the list of deliverables that you're taking into the next phase that you're going into. So those are some of the contents that could be, like I said, they are not cast in stone, depending on the project you're working on, depending on your audience. That determines the content of what your status report would have. Okay, so we want to look at the tips to create a good report. Okay, like I said earlier on, the number of pages, don't make it too much page and all that. And everybody has they have their own tasks and everything they're going through already. They have loads of things they need to do. They have their own workload and activities and all that. So you providing a document or a report that is so voluminous and everything, they won't read it. They will, in my head, or they will get discouraged. Let me put it that way, to go through it or to read it and all that. And they might just end up putting it somewhere. But when you have just maybe 2 to 3 pages and all that, the person will look at it and said, especially when it has a graphical representation, like I said, it's straight to the point and everything. They just want to, it's an overview, it's high level. You don't need to go to the nitty-gritty of things and all that. So they just want to quickly see what has been written there and everything, just inform themselves so that, they are on the same page with you. And then if they have any clarification or anything, they would get back to whosoever has submitted the reports to them in order to get the clarification that they need. Okay, so the information you're providing, also your information has to be straight to the point. You don't make it that, what makes it wordy, what makes it too big is by the time you're giving information that are unnecessary. Let me put it that way. If you're giving information that really shouldn't be there, that could make it too long and everything. So you just straight to the point information that you're passing on to them concerning the reports that you're giving to them, concerning your audience. You're able to just go straight to the point with your information. And then you want to give an information that is clear. You don't want a situation where your audience are coming back to you to ask for more clarification, or what do you mean by this? It should be simple and straight to the point. It should be simple and straight to the point. No ambiguity, no generic use of words that would kind of confuse. You want it to be simple. You want it to be straight to the point. You're not trying to impress them with the report. You're trying to pass a message across to them. So there's no need using big English, that somebody needs a dictionary before they understand what you're saying. Let it be simple. Let it be straight to the point. Like I said, your audience are so busy, so they don't want anything too classy, if I can put it that way. And also, you're able to divide it when we talk about sections, you're able to divide it into manageable sections that are understandable. You don't want to just put everything together. You don't want to model everything together whereby they are not sure what this means. They are not sure why this is related to this and other. And then when we look at the samples, you would have an understanding of what I'm talking about. So these are just some of the tips that you can use to create a good report. Could be more than this. Make it neat, make it tidy, make it presentable, let it tell a story. Let it go from one to one, telling a story rather than everything mumble jumbled together. You don't want to put the sprint name as the last thing and then put the next overview thing as the first thing. You're telling a story with the reports that you've given on to them. So those are some of the good tips for a good report that you might put in place. Okay, so who are the audience of your reports? Okay, so we want to look at the audience. So you have the stakeholders. We all know who the stakeholders are. The stakeholders are the parties that are interested. They have vested interest in the projects that you're working on. Okay, so this can be from both the clients and also management of the organization that you're working with. Okay, so those are your stakeholders, your project sponsors, those are your stakeholders. Your development team are your stakeholders. So anybody that has an interest, that has a vested interest in that project that you're working on is a stakeholder. Okay, so you yourself, you're a stakeholder. You have a stake in that project. Your team members, they have a stake in that project. The client has a stake in the project. Your management, the organization that you're working for, they also have a stake in that project. Okay, so those are your stakeholders. Like I said, it could include the project sponsors are there as part of your stakeholders. You have the senior management or decision makers of your organization also. They are part of your stakeholders. The scrum masters, and all those, they are part of your stakeholders. Another audience of your report could be that's for now. These audience are cut across both for the Scrum Masters reports and also for the ADM and APM reports. Okay, so for the ones here, there could be other projects or other project managers also. So in a situation where you're working on a project that cut across other projects that are running parallel, they are dependent on one another in the organization. So your report also, the other project managers of all those other projects will also be an audience for that report, because they want to know what you're doing on your side. And definitely any reports they provide also, or they create also, you will be privy to it, because your projects are, like I said, are dependent on each other. Because if in a situation where you have a project in an enterprise level, yeah, so there would be an audience also to your reports. So if you're a project manager, if you're an ADM, a scrum master, the product owner definitely is an audience, and also the team members also, they are all audience for your reports, the reports you provide. Now it can be more than this, it can be less than this. Again, depends on the project you're working on and the people involved in the project you're working on. Okay, so we want to look at the samples that we have. So this is a sample for a sprint report. Like I said, when we're talking about the content of a sprint report, we did make mention of the project name. So in this sample, the project name is ABCD. That's just, is ABCD project. And we're looking at the sprint name. The sprint name is sprint 10. And you can see the sprint period over here from 25th of July 2022 to 12th of August 2022. So you're able to state the period of your the sprint period of that particular project. And then I did talk about listing out all the sprint backlog items and giving an update on them. So these are all your sprint backlog items. You can see them all here. Those are the ID numbers for them. Those are what kind of stories are type of work items are they. So you can see that they are all user story. If there are bugs in there, you put it there also. If part of the goal for the sprint is to work on some bugs and all that. You're able to also include that in your information. And then these are the title, okay, for those particular user stories. So that the titles of the stories that were taken into the sprint, and then the efforts, the estimate, the story points, that are that have been awarded to each story. Yeah, you're able to put those ones there also, and it's able to give you the total effort that you took into the sprint. Okay, and then you now give the status of each of those stories. Like you see now for the first one, it says unfinished, unfinished, unfinished. And then you have 3 finished and about 4 unfinished. And in the comment column, you're able to tell them the reason why they're unfinished. And you can see that the reason we have here is unstable environment. So there was, because of the unstable environment, that was why those 4 stories were not completed. So apparently it's possible that the team were able to finish all these up before they had an unstable environment. It could be unstable developers dev environment, and that's why those stories they were not able to finish it. So it's a technical issue that happened, and they're able to, so they're not just saying, oh, we didn't finish it and leave it at that. You should be able to tell them, the reason why those stories were not finished. And then we talked about adding the team's capacity. So you can see that this is listed the names of all the team members in this team, the development team members. It listed all their names. It listed the planned days. These were the days they planned to work. These were the actual days that they worked. So this person still worked the day they said this one worked. But if you look at this, it lost 3 days. It lost 3 days there. And then, this is 9 days planned and 4 days worked and all that. So you want to put all those information in, because all those information also, if there is no way they won't impact on, the work progress during the sprint. So you want also to be able to present that to your audience, to let them know that also impacted. And then if there are any issues, we did talk about having an issue as a context. The issues, you're able to put it there. You can see there says 60% of the stories committed to sprint could not be completed due to the test environment being unstable. So you could see that there. So that means that the development aspect, the developer has been able to complete what they needed to do. It was during the testing aspect, because the test environment was unstable. The testers were not able to do what they need to do. And you could see this was resolved a day to the end of sprint. So you need to, that issue, you need to give them an update on those issues, not just giving them the issue, but be able to tell them, give them, so what is the progress of that issue? So this one said it was resolved a day to the end of the sprint, and that was why they could not complete, everything that was committed into sprint. And then you give a sprint highlight over here to say, okay, we committed 41 efforts, we completed 18 efforts. 75% of story in relation to pricing packages are completed. That is by checking all those titles here. They are able to give let's assume the stakeholders, to say that maybe the stakeholders wanted every story in relation to pricing packages to be completed, but at least they're telling them here that 75% of that has been completed. And then story relating to sample event menu are not completed. So those were the ones that were impacted by the unstable environment. So this is the highlight of what the stakeholders wanted and what you were able to do. And then you could see that it was saying there that all uncompleted story will spill over and be prioritized in the next sprint. So you're not just telling them that, oh, we've not completed it and you left it at that. You're telling them also that everything we've not completed, we will spill over definitely into the next sprint, and we will make sure we prioritize them. They are the first thing we do before we do other things that we're going to commit into the next sprint. So this gives them an overview to know that, okay, so things were not completed. Why were they not completed? What was done to resolve the issue? And then what are you doing next? That is what your report has been able to give them, in a nutshell, in not too much information. The table form gives a very good representation. It wasn't written out. If everything was written out in paragraph forms and all that, it would be too, I don't know how to put it. It would be too, how will I put it now? Too much for them to read, kind of, going through paragraphs and reading. That would be too much, because then you'll be using too much words. It will be voluminous, kind of, but you've tabulated everything out. You've written it out, simple and straight to the point. This is much, much easier for anybody to read and have an understanding of what happened during that sprint, rather than writing it out in paragraph forms, in word forms and all that, that won't really interest them to want to read. So you can use the table form to be able to pass your information across, and then you can also write it. You can see how it was sectioned out, and it tells a story. It talks about the project, it talks about the sprint, the period it covered, the things we took into the sprint, the people that worked in the sprint. It talked about the issues we have, how it was resolved. It talked about the highlight. This is what we committed to. We were able to do this that you wanted us to do. These ones are not done, but these ones that are not done, we're taking them into the next. It said a story in a very, very simple, straight to the point, clear and concise way. And that is how your report is meant to be. Okay, so we'll go to, and then also that's the first page. So this is not about this is the first page now of your report, but you've put them in different sections, like we've said, and it tells the story. And also you want to show them that everything I've said here is also happening in the chart that you're showing them. So you're showing them this your burn down chart, and you can see the green one is the one showing everything that was completed, and then the blue aspect at the bottom is the one showing that the things that were not completed during the sprint. Also, that is for your sprint burn down, and then you can see over here also your velocity charts. Okay, and your velocity chart, you can, like I said earlier on, you could use your velocity chart also to kind of give a good report about how the team is working. As you can see here, you can see that you can tell them, oh, in the previous sprint, everything we committed into sprint, we were able to complete. And over here in this sprint, we're able to complete. So the completed ones are the green one. If you have any blue one there, those are the things still in progress or things that were not completed. So you're able to say that, oh, because of the issue we have, that was why we weren't able to complete that aspect of things. But you can see from the way the team has been working that most of the things we commit into sprint, we always complete them, especially using the last sprint you had, to give a good report, going forward. And then you're also, like I said, you could also include the review feedback update. So there was a feedback update, request to change landing page banner to moving images has been carried out. So maybe it was a static image before, and then business wants moving images to be there. And you could see the review, giving them update to say, oh, that has been done, it has been changed. Request to change footer background color to royal blue is pending, awaiting further clarification. So maybe that review was given, and then because they said they wanted royal blue, you wanted them to give you because they're different colors. You can have 4 or 5 blue color saying they are royal blue. So you needed a particular code that would give the color they want, or you've provided some color schemes for them and they've not gotten back to you. And that's why you're saying are waiting for the clarification, maybe from the stakeholders. So the stakeholders that is waiting or has not given that clarification will know that, oh, I'm the one that didn't allow that to be done because I didn't give the go ahead, or I didn't respond to them yet in what I needed to do. So you put that there also. And then you have an overview, because this is sprint 10 report you're giving. Then you're able to give an overview of the sprint 11 that you're going into, to say that complete stories on sample event form on the header. So we're saying we're going to complete all those ones that we didn't complete before, and then we're now going to create multiple payment gateway. Those are the focus, of the next sprint that they're going into. And this is a complete, sprint report for a Scrum Master. Short, like I said, 2 pages, gives an overview of everything that happened in the sprint without going too detail. It's high level, it gives an highlight, and it's straightforward. All right, so let's just look at the sample for the APM and the ADM. So for the APM and the APM, what you're providing is the project status report. Okay, so for the APM and the ADM, it could be slightly different. So for an ADM that is not dealing with budgets, you might not have budget reports or implication in your own report. But for an APM agile project manager that is dealing with budgets, you want to include that in your report. So you could see the project name there, you could see the project code if they're using a code, you could see the project manager or the HDM's name there, you could see the status date. That is the date that is providing the status. Like I said, it will give a project summary, a summary of the project, what the project is all about. It could be an executive summary, or but just a brief summary of what the project is all about. It's also able to give the project status. They say that, okay, the budget we've spent is so. So in a situation where it says the budget we've spent is 20%, that's why you're seeing the status in front of it showing green. That means, oh, we're good to go. We've not overspent. We're still, we're still in budget. We've not gone over budget, and we've not underspent, kind of. So that's why that status is showing green, that we're good to go. And the scope delivered is 30%. So that is showing you amber. That should be amber, not yellow. Yeah. And what that amber is saying is, okay, so they didn't take it up to, maybe they're looking at the timeline, and they're looking at where the project is, and the scope that has been delivered already, the deliverables that have come in is not, they've delivered something, but it's not up to the expectation of business, and that is why that is in amber. And what amber is saying is that we need to keep an eye on it. If we're not careful, it becomes a risk. It becomes an issue if we don't keep an eye on it. And that's what that is saying. So estimated date, also they're looking at the estimated date. They've put the estimated date there as November 11. And the project manager is looking at this project, and he's saying, if we need to deliver by November and we've just done 30%, is showing a red color there to say that this is actually, it's an issue already. That's what that red is saying in that report. So it's giving an overview of what that project is. And then it's looking also at, you can see the project budget, the breakdown of the project budget at the bottom. The items described, IT costs, vendor, software costs, the buffer they've put in place, and everything. That is the forecast, and that is what has been spent. So you can see that for the cost, the IT cost, the forecast was $50,000, and what they've actually used is just 34,000 out of that. And then you're looking at the vendor. So they forecasted or planned 35,000 for vendor, but now they've used 500,000. So that's why that has to be in red, to say that they've overshoot over there. And then the software cost also was 76,000, but at least they used less than that. The buffer they've put in place is 45,000, and they've used 23,000 out of that. So you could see the total, that when they did their plan, it was 206,000, but right now they've spent 5,600, 561,500 pounds. So that cost also, the APM needs to put that in the report also. And then if they have any recent accomplishments, you're able to put that there, that they've analyzed key components and things like that. They're putting that there. And also, like I said, for the APM, chart metrics really could be release rather than sprints. Okay, so if you look at the first one, is showing the team's velocity and the project date. That's what the first one is, the team velocity chart, and then the bottom one is the project date. So he's saying that, okay, so the timeline is November 15. Right now, the teams are working at an average of 46 velocity, and he's looking at the way they're burning down, the way the velocity is going down towards what's needed to be done. And they've given information there that tax delayed. It says tax delayed and risk and mitigation strategy information has been put there also. Like I said, the risk, the issue, the dependency, all those things, you're able to put it in. And you could see that what was the reason for the tax delay. They say security testing could be completed. Sorry, some of the information were cut off from there also. And then you can see the risk actually management at the bottom, saying bottleneck in QA, thing going bad. Maybe that could be in sprint 2 or things like that. And then the mitigation action that was put in place, you could see that the person has put it there. you could see all those information there. Plan to fix it as soon as possible. You could see all those information. And then the planned activities, you could see those at the bottom left. Those are the planned things that they need to do in the next phase. They're able to list all those there. Security testing, that was an issue during this particular state of that or phase of that. They're planning to, rectify it or resolve it going forward. Development of key components, they intend to do that. Also testing of the components, and then any other thing that needed to be added, they will add it there as they go along. Okay, so this is just a sample. Again, not cast in stone, depending on your audience, depends on the contents that you need to put in. But this is a sample of a document that an APM can provide. You could get, other ones also. Okay, so for an ADM, a Niger Delivery Manager, yours could be slightly different. So what we have for yours could be what we have right now. So the first page, you just give an objective of that particular phase. It could be a quarter, it could be a phase, is the same thing. So if it's phase 1 or quarter 1, you're able to give, an overview of it. What is the goal for that particular quarter? What was the goal? What did you intend to achieve during that particular quarter? And then you're looking at if you're looking at your RAG status, what is the status for that particular quarter that you're talking about? And as you can see there, it's amber, it's not green. Like I said, green means everything is good to go, everything is going according to plan and all that. Amber means if we're not careful, we won't deliver this to timeline, we won't achieve the goal that we've put in place. And the timeline for this particular quarter, as you can see, is end of February, as you can see in the date over there. And I could talk about the executive summary. So what they're saying is these are the things we plan to release during this first quarter, end-to-end order process, mobile application, new features, and all that. Those are the things they want to achieve at the end of that. That was what was planned, for the end of that quarter and all that. Now you're able to provide a RAID analysis regarding the issues or the risks that you've encountered during that sprint, and then you're able to color code it also. So if you look at the key color code for your RAID status, it says red is critical, amber is high, medium is yellow is medium, and then green is low or good to go, and all that. You're able to put all those information in, and then you have your RAID summary on the side, the one that talks about your risk. How many risks do you have? How many issues did you have? How many assumptions do you have? How many dependencies do you have during that sprint? Also, you can see that we had about 3 analyses put down there. The description, you can see it's delay in getting approval to make use of, whatever the description is, you put it there. What kind of analysis is it? Is it an issue? Is it a risk? Is it an assumption or a dependency? You're able to put it there. Who owns that particular risk? Who owns that particular issue? Is it the business? Is it the team themselves? Is it the PO? Is it management? You're able to put the owner of that risk there, and then what impact is that issue or risk? What impact is it having, or will it have on the project? And then you're able to put it there also, or on the particular release for that quarter, that information is put there. What is the status? You put it there. Is it critical? Is it high? Is it medium? You put it there. What mitigation action are you putting in place in order to resolve, that issue or that risk, so that it doesn't have that impact? So if it is a risk, you're putting a mitigation action in place so that it doesn't impact, that impact does not happen. If it's already an issue, how are you resolving the issue? That is what your mitigation action are looking at, and you could see that there in that table. That gives your audience an information to say, okay, we have an issue. What is the issue? How is it affecting the project? What have we put in place in order to resolve it? I know that some go ahead to put a timeline to that action, to say, okay, the timeline we put to the action is so time, which is before we have to release, so that everything is resolved before we need to release. I know that the action plan, the person that is going to take those mitigation action, also you're able to put their name also in that column. So that that is the slight difference that you might have between an APM's report and an ADM's report. But all in all, as I've said, is not cast in stone. There could definitely be some additions, some subtractions, and all that, depending on your audience and the project that you're working on. And that brings us to the end of our topic tonight. So I'm not sure if you have any questions. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Do we have any questions? I'm just going to stop sharing. Do we have any questions, or we're good to go? Everything is fine. All right, allow me. You can stop recording since we don't have any question.
Yeah, sorry, I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, the ADM APM can a Scrum Master work in that position?
Yes, so a Scrum Master can be an APM. You can apply for that role. There's nothing stopping you from applying to that role if you know what their roles are. You're aware of their roles, and then you can go into an interview and convince the interviewers.
Okay, but I mean, are they separate roles? Like
they are separate roles. A Scrum Master is different. So a Scrum Master focuses more on the team and the sprint and the Scrum process. An APM, like the name says, is an agile project manager. So they look at an overview of the project. So they don't work within the Scrum team. They work with the Scrum team, but they are not part of the Scrum team. So in a Scrum team, you have the product owner, you have the Scrum Master, and then you have the developers, meaning the software, the person that builds the software, and the testers. Those are the people that make up the Scrum team. However, when you're looking at the people that make up the project team, you'll have the Scrum team, you'll have the stakeholders, you'll have the ADM, you have the project manager, who also, like I said, are stakeholders. You'll have them making up the project team. So please don't confuse it together. You have a project team that consists of everybody that has an vested interest in that project. The marketing unit for your organization, the subject matter expertise, the government regulation compliance body, they all have vested interest in that particular project. So they make up the project team, but they are not the Scrum team. So the Scrum team actually focuses more on development of that particular software or product.
All right. Yeah, because in some situations, I've seen they have like hybrid roles where they will tell the Scrum Master to also be, I mean, like a product owner and a business analyst. It is a fusion of the two. So, but in this situation, I just want to have a clarity of the role. Like, there can be a situation whereby the organization needs someone that will function in the two, that would actually take the two roles together.
Yes. So
considering the size of the considering the size of the organization.
Yes, you said what I was
size of the organization. Yeah.
You said what I was going to say. So it depends on the size of the organization. It depends if they have money to separate the roles, yeah, or if it's a small organization where they want the PO to be the BA, to take the role together, okay, or they want to separate the role so that the PO is dealing strategically with the stakeholders and focusing on that. And so they want a BA in place also to focus on writing the stories. We're looking in such a situation, you're looking at a big company, that has big clients also, and they need the PO to go and use the expertise, to do strategic work with the stakeholders. And so they want another person to focus on the BA. So in the way you have a small organization, you might end up having the PO also being the BA, writing the stories. Maybe they are not that should I use the word big enough? Again, it depends on the story that they're working on. It depends on the projects that they're working on. Yeah, you can have a PO that is technical, and because of his technicality of the project and his role, they want him to be the one to write the story. They don't want to bring another BA in to write the story. Remember, he's the one that owns the product, so he understands the product. So you might have that kind of a situation. Also, when it comes to the ADM, you can have a Scrum Master playing the role of an ADM and an APM. So if you are a Scrum Master, don't limit yourself to going out and looking for just um uh um Scrum Master role. You can work also as an Agile Delivery Manager, but like I said earlier on, you need to know what's an Agile Delivery, because an Agile Delivery Manager focuses on delivery. And doesn't work within a team, a Scrum team.
All right.
They can do everything a Scrum Master can do. Yeah. If there is an impediment, they can resolve it. They can function well in a team as a Scrum Master, but their work goes way, way, way beyond just Scrum Master role. Like I said, they have to look at delivery timeline. Is the team working towards timeline? If there is any bottleneck anywhere, where is this coming from? Is it from the development team? Is it from the stakeholders? Yeah. Is it because of resources? There's a lot of things. Their focus is more on ensuring that delivery happens when it's meant to happen. And if it doesn't happen when it's meant to happen, then it must have a very reasonable, concrete reason why that didn't happen.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question?
Miss, you know how we watch the video now?
Sorry? Hi, Mohammed.
You know how we watch the video? You're right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Like when we watched the video earlier, it said the part when it comes to like create groups and things like that. Yeah. I know we're gonna set up the board, but do we set up our board once, or we can practice a few different times?
Oh, okay. Okay, so your question, okay, all right. Allow me stop the recording, because Mohammed's question doesn't have to do with the topic tonight, isn't it? It has to do with you setting up your job, but
No. I'm basically asking for more material to use so I can keep practicing. It's got to do with the topic. It's all Scrum, innit?
yes. Well, the videos will be provided for you. That should be enough for you, and then you can research more yourself.
No, I want to practice. Basically, what I'm saying, what I learned from the video today, where can I keep practicing? I want to keep making at least 50 million boards before I finish the course. So that when I'm in my role, I'm perfected it.
Yeah, the recording tonight would be made available. Allow me, please help us. Allow me, can you stop the recording, because this is not part of the training any longer. So if you can stop the recording, please. Hello, Laomi, are you there? Yeah, so Mohammed, the video will be made available as soon as. Let me speak with Laomi. And once that is made available, you can watch it as much as you want in order for you to practice what has been said in the video, yeah? And make use of it in order to, perfect yourself, if I can put it that way. Does that answer your question?
Kind of does. Don't I understand. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think what Mohammed means is there any other way we can practice apart from, or is there any board that we can use to practice apart from the one we're using for the project, like a demo board
so
where you can practice?
If you want to practice, Mohammed, you can create your own Azure board.
John, thank you,
There's a
John.
free
Sorry,
version.
Moji. John explained it very well. That's what I wanted to ask. Thank you, John, and continue, Moji. Sorry.
Okay. So, all right. In saying that, yeah, if you don't want, you can't practice on your project board, yeah, but you can create your own Azure board. There's a free version that you can use.
Free what?
There's a free version of the Azure DevOps board that you can create. You create your own organization.
Where do I find that one?
It's on. All right, I will share the if you
Thank you, because I think a lot of
Google
us will benefit.
Azure Dev, is it azuredev.com? It will take
If you
you
could just write it
to.
out later for us, it'll be perfect. If you can just put into
Sorry?
the if you could put into the Telegram so everyone can just use it, it'll be
Yeah, I'll
perfect.
put it on Telegram so that anybody that wants to create their own personal Azure board can do that and use it
Thank
to
you.
practice how to create a board, how to create an organization, how to use the features that you have there. There's a free version that you can use. I'll put that there. So I'll put that on your main
Yeah.
platform, okay? Or your
Thank you,
main
Moji.
internship platform. I'll put it there.
Thank you, and thank you, John, as well. Big up.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Okay. So thank you so much once again, everyone, for joining. I'm not sure if they want you back in the main room, but yeah, that's us done tonight. I hope do we still have the APM and ADM interns on call also?
Yes, you do.
Oh, okay. I hope it was valuable for you, that the topics were valuable for you also.
Yes, it was.
Okay. All right.
Sorry,
All right.
Majid, quick question,
Yes.
right? Currently, what do you work as? Do you work as a Scrum Master or an ADM or APM?
I'm working as an ADM.
Okay. And did you make that transition from being a Scrum Master to the ADM?
Yes.
Okay. If you had to do this journey all over again, based on obviously what you know now, will you still go down the path of being a Scrum Master, or will you choose something else?
I would go through yes, I would go through the part of a Scrum Master again.
Not the PO, not the BA, not the tester, but Scrum.
No, I don't like coding. Anything code, anything formula, I don't like it. So I would definitely won't be a QA.
You're talking my
And I won't
language,
be a
Moji. I don't
developer.
like coding as well.
I don't like coding. Anything that has to do with formula and all that, that's not me. So I want to go down that lane. No. I
Okay.
did play with a bit of BA, play with it in the sense that as a Scrum Master, there was a time when we had an emergency. My BA couldn't be around because they had an emergency, and I had to write a bit of story. I wrote some stories. It wasn't too much, at least, but at least I did. So I learned the description, the Gherkin language and all that to write the story. I learned about the invest criteria and all that. I learned that. And I guess it's really the interest. You see, as a Scrum Master or an ADM, you need to know everything that your team members are doing. So I might not be a QA, but I can do manual tests. What I can do is automation. Automation is the one that has to do with a lot of, coding and everything. That's the part that I can do. I can do exploratory tests. Yeah.
Okay.
And I can do a manual test also. So you have to have, if not practical and technical knowledge or experience of what your team does, you have to have a basic knowledge of what they do. Remember, you are the leader, yeah, of that particular team. So there is no way you can say, oh, my own is just to facilitate, or my own is just to, resolve their impediment. I don't want to know what they're talking about. How do you resolve an impediment that comes from what they're doing if you don't have a basic knowledge of what they're doing? So you still need to know bits and pieces from everybody in order for you to be able to use the Scrum process, what they're doing, and the Scrum process to guide them in order for them to add value to the project, not just to the project alone, but even to themselves, for them to get better, for them to be upskill in what they're doing. You need to know about what they're doing. You need to have knowledge, a deep knowledge. After maybe the BA and the PO, the next person that should have a full knowledge of the project or the product you're working on is you, the Scrum Master, or the ADM.
Okay, that's fine. So the next question I have for you is this, right? Did you learn this high-level overview, like the testing elements, the BA elements from your role as a Scrum Master where you get paid, or was it from here where you learned those basic stuff?
From advanced platform. Started
Okay.
from when I had the internship and then on the advanced platform. See what I do with my team, yeah, in supporting them when I know they have meetings, I join their meetings. When my BAs are meeting, you know, in order to collaborate together to write the story, I join. I play with them when they're doing what they're doing. I'm watching them because I'm
Okay.
learning. I want to learn. I want to know what my team members are doing.